right, in this video I want to teach you a little bit on leadership, and what I'm going to do is I put a PowerPoint together. I used this exact PowerPoint at a financial conference. It was a big conference, thousands of people there, and I got a great response from it. And I'm just going to kind of keep this one fairly short. I know it's a little different. You know, sometimes the same energy can't come off as far as a live event as going one-on-one. But I think that if you're watching this, you're interested in this principle, and I think I can give you some tips because I've used them in both my family life, my ministry life, my business life, and so on, and I've seen these things to hold true. So first off, understand that leader means Pathfinder. Pathfinder meaning you're typically going to have to take the brunt of the conflict whenever you're launching out into leadership, whenever you make the decision to become a leader. And I think I have this in this PowerPoint is, you know, leadership's a mindset, but a lot of times you're going to be thrust into situations that there's no roadmap to it. Okay. Pathfinder meaning you got to make a path, you got to grab the machete and you got to go. And it takes a lot of intestinal fortitude to get to those, to go through, especially if you've never done it before. And one of the biggest points about being if you're an entrepreneur, is you're called to be a leader by yourself, making that decision that you've changed, you know, that you're going to lead yourself in most cases to take you to where you need to go, even though you've never been there. There's more times than I can even shake a stick at where I've been absolutely scared to death, not knowing what I'm going to do the next hour in business, but it's something I've chosen to do. I've chosen to lead my family in this direction, and I'm going to be the leader to do it, okay? This one's a great one, and I think you should remember it and never forget it. Leadership should not be confused with popularity. Too many times people confuse those two. They think, oh, this person's very popular, but they are a complete doofus. They are somebody that has no moral compass. They don't do things correctly. You know what I'm talking about. And there's been a lot of people out there that have edified false leaders. Okay, and there's a difference. Most of the true leaders are a lot quieter than you would think, but behind the scenes they are making bigger differences than all these people that can, you know, put themselves out there in lights or are actually, you know, popular for being popular. I mean, it's just crazy what's going on out there. This one's a good one to understand, and you should write this one down. You lead people and manage systems. You lead people and manage systems. I think too many times, especially in work scenarios, people are considered managers. You get the title of manager, and it sounds cool, but you at any time in any part of business and anything you're doing in life, you're dealing with people, and you have to learn to lead people to where they might want to be, and that's how you get things done. If you are in a situation or a business or a company that there are systems in place, the systems typically won't run by themselves. They need people to do it, so you're not just managing people and dictating. You're leading people and managing systems. Okay, so it's a good one. Like I said, it's a little bit ago. Leadership is a mindset. Leadership's often lonely. This is a big one too. You know, how many times have you been out on a limb, wondering what you're going to do next? There's nobody really to call because maybe you're taking the first step. You are the person that's becoming the pathfinder of something that's never been done before. And it gets kind of lonely. You can get to, you know, there's many times that I've just, you know, had to get down. I mean, almost all the time you get down on your knees and pray and say, hey, I need the next step because I have no idea what I'm doing. And, it becomes, in a lot of situations, it's also lonely because you have to make decisions that are not always popular, but they could be correct. Okay, so that's real important. Leadership is a decision. Like I said a little bit ago, you decide to be a leader. It just doesn't happen. You're not born a leader. You make the decision to be a leader. Now, this one's a great one. True leaders serve others. They do not wish to be served. True leadership is people serving others, not wishing to be served. And that's the true sense of a leader. Somebody's going to lay their life down for somebody else so that they can get to that next level due to their sacrifice. Okay, and it's something like that has to do with the intestinal fortitude I think that the person has of wanting to help people, wanting to give somebody a better life than they may already have. Okay, that's why I do a lot of videos, and I kind of like doing this stuff. So hopefully you're getting a lot out of some of the stuff I put out there. Leaders get rewarded for stepping up, not showing up. Boom, that one's a home run right there. Leaders get rewarded for stepping up, not showing up. I don't know how many business meetings or events that I've been to, and there are so many people that they come every week, but they don't add any value to the place. They don't do anything. They show up. They don't step up. They never bring guests, or they don't try to get in front of the room, potentially to be one of the speakers. They just kind of show up for the cookies. There's nothing wrong with those people. They're going to be out there, but that's not why you and I are having this conversation. Also, titles earn you the right to lead. A title is not leadership. Just because you earn a title does not mean that you have arrived. And that's where a lot of people get confused, because too many times you get the regional vice president and regional manager and president, and you start you start losing sight of potentially what got you there in the first place, and start to just think that you can dictate versus, again, lead. So you have to be very careful of that. Leadership is performance, not position. Leadership is performance, not position. It goes right hand in hand with that one exactly. Okay. The other thing is, leaders cast a vision. You can't put a puzzle together without seeing the big picture. Define what you want, then identify the people you will need to work with and lead to accomplish your goal. If you've never heard the story about the puzzle, it's kind of funny. A little kid walks into his dad, who's in his study, tries to get him to play with him. The kid won't do it, or dad can't do it because he's busy. Comes back in a couple minutes later, because will you play with me? No. And finally, the dad didn't know what to do, and he takes this picture out of his takes this thing out of a magazine, rips the thing out of there, and he rips it up in shreds and says, "Son, as soon as you can put this together, I'll play with you," right? Well, literally within a few minutes, this kid came back and said, I did it. I put it together. And the moral of it was, the one side of it he said, "Well, how'd you do it so quick?" He said, "Well, one picture was a picture of the world, which is what the dad saw. He ripped it up, and there was all these little tiny pieces. But on the back of it was a picture of a man, which was a lot easier to put together. Dad didn't realize that." And he said, "Well, Dad, as soon as I was able to put the man together, I realized that the world fell into place a lot easier." So it's kind of a cool little story. That's me butchering that story, but you kind of get the idea of it. You got to understand where you're going, what the puzzle is, and how you're going to get there. Some practical steps. Know the way so you can show the way. Know the way so you can show the way. That has to do with experience. That has to do with you probably doing it again and again and again, having some proof that you've done these things. And then develop strong discipline. Discipline is probably one of the hardest things to really master out there. And discipline without direction is drudgery. Discipline without direction is drudgery, going through the motions without a purpose, okay? Personal development with a purpose is very, very important, and kind of leads along the lines of that. This isn't a personal development thing, but one of the things that I try to do every morning is I read, and I'm typically reading a book typically a book of some sort that has to do with what I'm dealing with in that time of my life, that I believe is a personal development thing that I need, whether it's leadership, whether it's business development, whether it's spiritual, whatever it might be. I always am reading with a purpose, okay? Personal development with a purpose is what I'm trying to get through there. Some other practical steps. Let others develop their leadership. A lot of times it's easy for us, if you've ever been in front of a room and you've been speaking to people, and it's nice to be in front of the room, it's nice to get the accolades and so on. But if you really want your, an organization, a sales force, a sales team to grow, a lot of times you have to let their leadership develop. And a lot of times it's not comfortable, but just like as a parent, you have to put them in situations that might make them uncomfortable so that they can push through that barrier, they can break through, and they can do that next thing. As a little kid, one of the biggest accomplishments you ever had is when you learned how to tie your shoes. I can tell you how to tie your shoes all day long, and I can show you multiple times. But as a little kid, the first time you actually tried it took a little while, but then eventually you can do it, and now you can obviously do it again and again and again. It's the same thing with letting other people develop their leadership as well. Other thing is, while that's happening, you want to make sure that you celebrate the singles. Celebrating the singles is just a simple phrase of saying, hey, get up to the bat, take a swing, whatever happens, we're going to celebrate that, okay? It's not that the guy nailed the meeting or the presentation he gave in front of the room and it was epic, okay? That doesn't typically happen overnight. But when they do something correct, you want to make sure that you edify it and celebrate that single. Also, you learn to influence the influencers, okay? A lot of times when I do events and things like that, in the room there will be people that stand out, and I can see a lot of times those people maybe have more charisma. They're more interactive with the group. A lot of times I will go to those people and try to get them to help or organize and orchestrate with the other things, which kind of is letting them develop their leadership abilities as well. Okay, so learn to influence the influencers. People embrace a vision or an idea if they take personal responsibility for the idea. This is a really, really good one right here, because I've noticed that whenever I'm doing events or trainings or building a sales force, it has to do with a lot of times casting the vision, painting the vision, but figuring out what motivates those people, the people that I'm trying to influence, and it's not being manipulative, but learning how they fit with the vision that we have, and how I can get them to take a responsibility, personal responsibility for their part in the idea. Or in a lot of cases, that's why people do mastermind groups. Maybe you have a sales force that you're trying to get motivated, but it has nothing to do with motivation. It has everything to do with engaging those people to help bring out the best of what they have in them, and taking responsibility and maybe casting some ideas out there that they can take more personal responsibility because they were part of the idea of the big vision. That's a really, really good technique, okay? Some other practical steps: 3 C's, community, culture, and commerce. I've seen in a lot of businesses I've been part of, most of the time, like in sales companies or product development companies, things like that, I've seen people join a lot of times for the opportunity or for the money or things like that. But I have noticed that they will always stay and or succeed based on what the community and the culture was in that company. And that's a real important. These 3 C's are huge. And I believe that they go almost in that order. Maybe you could flip the culture and the community around, and commerce is literally last, because a lot of times you'll see there's lots of companies out there, lots of businesses out there that people can sell things with and so on. But community and culture, I think, is a driving force of what really, really, truly creates the bigger organizations, the biggest sales forces out there. Okay. And you have to be very careful that you protect your culture, whatever that might be, because, rotten apple can spoil the whole bunch, right? And I've seen that happen multiple times, where the right community and culture had been built up with the right morality, the right habits, the right disciplines, and so on. And then all of a sudden somebody has a new shiny object over here, and they bring that guy's ideas and theories, which really hadn't been tested, or was more hype than it was, something solid. And it messed up the community and culture here, which drove the commerce into the ground. Okay, that happens a lot, and you have to be very, very careful of that, of protecting your culture. How to protect your culture: beware of entitlement. If you begin to reward people for the wrong activities will be repeated. If you reward people for the right activities will be repeated. Culture determines behavior. Behavior determines results. Culture determines behavior. Behavior determines results. Real important that you understand that one. Culture, I'm going to say it again just so you get it. Culture determines behavior. Okay, so your culture is going to show what people are actually going to begin to do whenever they join your business or your company or whatever franchise. Behavior is going to determine the results of that. Okay, so what all the other people are doing, the behaviors that they're emulating is going to be replicated in most cases. Okay, so very, very important. Now, if you decided to create a high-value culture, you will develop high-value leaders. Real important. If you decide to create a high-value culture, you will develop a high-value leader. A lot of times it's easy to do things, cut corners, I guess you could say, with your culture and your community and what your message is and what your really beliefs are and so on. And by doing that, you will begin to drop the value of being part of what your organization or your sales force is, to the point that your leaders are, barely above par. Okay, and that is not something long-term and stable that you want to have your hands on. Now, winding this down, I think it's real important that you continue this training on this. It's not something that doesn't just happen overnight, and it's something that has to be continually renewed, I believe. And here's some of the best resources that I've used, I've read, that I have emulated and so on. It's pretty much anything by John Maxwell. There's tip number one. He's probably the biggest leadership guru out there that's focused specifically on leadership, whether it's books, CDs, conferences, and so on. There's also a book out there I think is very important. It's called Listening for Success. Listening for Success by Steve Shapiro is a great resource. Very easy to read book. It's like this thick. I think there's an audio version of it as well. But, I see too many people talk too much and they don't listen. You got one mouth and two ears, so she'd be listening twice as much as you're talking. And I think a lot of times I've learned more by just listening instead of trying to spew or answer the next thing that comes out of, I'm not thinking of what I'm going to say next. I'm trying to figure out what that person, the driving force behind that person's wants and needs are. And that'll definitely change your life if you learn to listen better. Phenomenal book, Bringing Out the Best in People by Alan Loy McGinnis. If you've never read it, it is spectacular, spectacular, spectacular. It's all on the psychology of dealing with people. It's so, so good. And it's very easy to read. Even though it's a psychologist that wrote it, very, very easy, bite-sized little chapters. You can get them, I think you can get any of these resources on Amazon. There's another guy out there, you may never have heard of this guy. His name's Dave Anderson. His website is Learn to Lead. Probably the best. I've been to six conferences that I've seen him speak at live, and they literally were some of the best conferences I've ever seen of leadership and truth that came out that changed the way I approached my culture, approached building my communities, my teams, my sales, my personal development was from this guy. Okay, this guy's resources are fantastic. And then anything by Art Williams. Art Williams created the largest privately held insurance company in the world with A.L. Williams, and his stuff is phenomenal. The guy used to be a football coach in Kendrick, I think it was down in Georgia somewhere, and went on to build this multi-billion-dollar corporation, and millions of lives were changed because of what he taught and continues to teach. And I've read a bunch of his stuff, and it is spectacular stuff. From top to bottom, anything you can get by Art Williams is fantastic. So thanks for your time. Hopefully you got a little bit about this, took some cliff notes, watch it again just to catch it, because I know he talked fast, but I know you can listen fast. So thanks again, and see you on some other videos. Thanks.